In this lesson, we're going to learn how to create a simple database and a simple table in MySQL. After opening up the program, click on Local Instance MySQL and enter the password. And this will open up the main window in which we will be typing our SQL code. To create a database is very simple. All you have to do is start with the keyword create schema and then put the name of the database that you want. Now it's important to note that in this case you need to use the quotation mark that I'm highlighting there on the left and not the one on the right. So not the normal vertical one, or it's going to give you an error. So just make sure that the quotation mark, single quotation mark that you're using, it will show your code as brown, and that's what you need. So now you click the lightning bolt, and that runs the code that we are selecting. You can see the check mark there comes back, which means that everything was returned all right. You hit the refresh here on the left, and we can see now that our database is created. Retail_DB. Right now the tables and the views are all empty because we don't have data in there. So the next step is that we are going to create a table to put into our database. And this will be done using the keyword create table. We will put in as the prefix the name of our database, which is retail_DB, and then call the table whatever we want, in this case sales table, sales TBL. So again, you have to specify the prefix of the database that you want so that it knows where to insert the table. Now this is the file that we're going to use, the CSV file that we're going to use to import. You can see the 6 columns that we have. This is what the data looks like: customer ID, date, some categorical values like product category, and then continuous variables like sales and margin. So now you can see we have all of the field names specified here. We're going to run the data, which is creating the table. And it looks like it's run. We're going to refresh here. And looking over at our database, now you can see that sales table exists. When we expand this some more, you can see that the 6 fields that we created exist there too. So there are, in this case, 4 different data types that we used. Customer ID we set as an integer. Date day we set as date. We have character variables and decimals. It's important to note that after each one we specified null. So again, what we're doing right here is just creating an empty table which we are then going to import data into. And the way we're going to import data is by using the load data local infile function here. Let's copy the name of the path that we want to load the data from, which is our folder analysis. Copy and paste that. Want to change the forward slashes into backslashes for each. Close the parentheses. And then specify the name of the CSV file that we want to pull from. So now you can see all of the code that we have down here. We're specifying into table is specifying the name of the table that we want to insert the CSV file into. We're setting the character set at UTF-8. And then we're talking about the fields terminated by and closed by, lines terminated by, is all specifying, the requirements for a CSV file. So for example, lines terminated by /n means new line. One key thing is ignore one rows. So you'll see that that means that we have a header in our CSV file that we want ignored. We only want the data pulled in. We don't need the field names. Now we're going to select star from our table here. Now select star means that you are pulling back everything from the table. This generally isn't the best way to pull things from a table, but when you've got a very small amount of data, it's no big deal. So we're going to look at the results that we have here, and you can see that there's an issue with date day. When we set this as a date field, it returned all zeros. And no matter how you format this in CSV or in the CSV file, you're going to get issues like this. So unfortunately, there's a workaround that you have to do in order to get the date into the year, month, day format that we need in order to start using it in our SQL database. So as you can see here, we've changed the code on the bottom underneath ignore one rows. Where we had day date, we've replaced that with an ampersand var1. So what this is doing is just creating a variable that we're going to call. And you can see in the code below this, we're doing set date day, so that's the field name. And then we're using a function called string to date. So what it's doing is taking that empty variable that we created above and putting it in the month, day, year format that we need. So you run this, and when we run our whole code above, you can see that underneath create schema, we've entered drop table. So whenever you create a table, you can always append data to it, but if you need to erase everything, delete everything that's in the table, you need to use the function drop table. So that's what we're using above this. And we're going to run the code and then select star from, and we'll see the results. And now we could see the output from this query. And you could see, especially looking at date day, that it's now in the format that we need of year, month, and day. Everything else looks okay. So I think we're just going to go ahead now and save this, and we are done. We have the table that we could use in the future. Query this, join this with other tables, and we'll learn that in further lessons.